Hi there. This is the internet channel for the study of philosophy. Not just any philosophy. We're doing a careful reading of the works of Georg Hegel, the 19th-century idealist philosopher. My name is Robert Fain. I studied philosophy at the University of Amsterdam, and wrote a thesis about ethics in 2001. So I have a doctorate in the humanities. I have been studying Hegel for more than 30 years now, and have been teaching Hegel on the internet for many years. Welcome to this new episode of Studying Philosophy with Hegel. Let us consider where we are. What is the exact point we have reached in the development of the concept of spirit? Let's consider where we came from. The presupposition of Hegel's social philosophy, in itself a result of another deduction, is the concept of the free spirit. This is its definition in paragraph 482. Quote, "The mind which knows itself as free and wills itself as this its object, i.e. which has its true being for characteristic and aim, is in the first instance the rational will in general, or implicit idea, and because implicit only the notion of absolute mind." Explanation: we know ourselves to be free. We want to know ourselves as free. We want to be freely whatever we are. Whatever we are, is for us also a goal, something to achieve. So how does a free spirit achieve itself as its goal? Quote, "That will is also the act of developing the idea, and of investing its self-unfolding content with an existence which, as realizing the idea, is actuality." Explanation: human free will as such, as a concept, is only the appearance of the idea of freedom. The free will is the activity of developing itself, on the one hand bringing forth its inner content, on the other establishing that contents in the realm of existence. Human free will is an inner dynamic of positing itself reality, thereby knowing itself not just to be free, but also giving itself reality. In its immediate stage of development, the free spirit is determined by a dualism between its inner sense of freedom and objective reality. That objective reality belongs to me, insofar as it contains my inner determinations, urges, aspirations, needs, appetites, all of which are subjective determinations of my freedom. Beyond this inner objectivity, there is also the world of natural objects, the material, so to speak, of my inner freedom. E.g., I know myself to be free when I want to eat an apple. I know my freedom also to be determined by hunger. I am not determined by my need alone, because I can choose the means of satisfying my hunger. I choose to eat the apple or something else. That is the inner sphere of my freedom and its inner objectivity. And thirdly, I am not alone in this world. I find myself as a free being in relationships with other free beings, who might want to eat the same apple or give or sell me an apple. How is that social reality connected to the aim of my freedom to give myself reality? But, of course, there needs to be an apple for me to eat also. I need to recognize it, grab it, eat it. That apple belongs to the world of natural objects. In the act of taking an apple, I exercise my inner freedom, in a relationship with my inner and my outer objectivity. Now we started out by saying that the inner dynamic of my freedom is to give myself reality, i.e. to realize my inner determinations. Has this happened yet, in this stage of the development? Obviously not. There is a gap between my freedom and the objectivity that is beyond it.
Let's take a look again at paragraph 482. We have quoted the first part of this sentence. Der Geist, der sich als frei weiß und sich als diesen seinen Gegenstand will, das ist sein Wesen zur Bestimmung und zum Zwecke hat, ist zunächst überhaupt der vernünftige Wille oder an sich die Idee, darum nur der Begriff des absoluten Geistes. Ist zunächst überhaupt der vernünftige Wille. When we talk about human freedom, we have to talk also about human rationality. Human will is not just an instinct, is not just an urge, it is rational. And that is very important because the human will that strives to achieve its own reality, that wants to realize itself within the realm of reality, is rational. It wants to express itself, the human rational will wants to express itself as such. After all, its essence is its determinacy and its goal. So, moving on to the next important quotation, we have here paragraph 485. We're still just a little bit before Hegel starts talking about the sphere of justice, or right rather. Diese Einheit des vernünftigen Willens mit dem einzelnen Willen, welche das unmittelbare und eigentümliche Element der Betätigung des Ersteren ist, macht die einfache Wirklichkeit der Freiheit aus. So, the first simple and immediate reality of freedom, in which freedom has its objective existence, is a unity of the rational will with the personal or individual will. There is a difference. We are rational beings, but our private rationality is not general rationality. There is something higher with which we are connected, which is reason in itself. So, the immediate sphere of freedom also has this unity of rationality, rational will as such, with our private will. And that concept of this unity of a universal rational will and a personal will, that is the first thing to consider, because diese Realität überhaupt, das Dasein des freien Willens, ist das Recht. Das Recht, the right, is the existence of the free will as a personal, individual free will, and as such it appears in the concept of property. Now that is the first instance where this unity of the rational will, the rational universality, and the individual personality occurs. We find here the definition of the sphere of right, welches nicht nur als das beschränkte juristische Recht. So we need not think about right in the sense in which a lawyer might take it as the whole of laws and procedures, that is his domain, sondern als das Dasein aller Bestimmungen der Freiheit umfassend zu nehmen ist. So, right is the existence of all determinacy of freedom. These determinations are things that have a relation to the subjective will. In the subjective will, they want to count as universal. They want to be exercised and realized. And therefore they are duties, in welchem sie als allgemeine ihr Dasein haben sollen und allein haben können, seine Pflichten. And those duties are not subject to choice and deliberation, but most of the time, wie sie als Gewohnheit und Sinnesart in demselben Sitte sind. They are social mores, social institutions, ways of conducting myself that are simply habits, something that I have been taught during my childhood. So, the first sphere of objective reality in which the free will tries to realize itself is the sphere of right, because free will wants to exercise and realize itself as rational free will. So all of the determinations of freedom come into account, and not just the determinations of my personal being, my hunger, my needs, my appetites, etc. This is a very important point in Hegel's social philosophy. Freedom wants to exercise itself as rational freedom. That is its essence and therefore also its goal. So the question now becomes, how does individual free will exercise itself in order to become this rational and universal will? How does it achieve a reality that is not just a reflection of its own personal determination, of its own personal private freedom, but truly becomes something that is universal? For that it has to change, it has to develop rather, the way that it functions with regard to objective reality. First of all, it has to change the way it is related to its own inner subjective determinations, its appetites, its hunger, etc. Second of all, it has to change the way it is related to the objects in nature, the objects of my perception that are near me. And third, it has to change the way it is related to other free wills, to other persons that also exercise their freedom. And that is what we will see in the coming development, what we already have seen in previous videos, how this is achieved, first of all, in the concept of property. That is the first category of right, and then we have the concept of contract, and then we have the opposition between right and wrong, and that was the point where the development moved into another sphere, the sphere of morality. We will discuss these transitions in our next video.
Thanks for watching my first video on Hegel since last year. We hope you will return to our website hegelcourses.wordpress.com for more video and text on the philosophy of Hegel. We will have more for you next week, so check us out regularly. Be wise and be nice. This is Robert Fain, signing out.